So now that everything is working properly, we need to kind of have a custom progress bar that tells the user that, yeah, we are really fetching the data. Just exercise a little bit of patience, right? So to be able to set up our own custom progress bar, we are going to be making use of Dialog Fragment. And we first of all need to design the layout. So we're going to go to our Solution Explorer, and we're going to create a new Android layout. So we're going to click on Add, New Item, and so we're going to call this layout Progress. So let's go ahead and add that. So the first thing we need to do will be to change the orientation to horizontal. Okay. So we're going to make the width to be wrap content, and we're going to set some padding. The padding will be 16 dp, and also we're going to go ahead and set the mean weight. We're going to set the mean weight to be 300 dp. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and define a progress bar. So our progress bar, and the layout width will be 40 dp, and the height will be 40 dp as well. Indeterminate is going to be true because we want it to be rolling forever. And lastly, we're going to go ahead and set the ID, which is going to be loader. Now the next thing we need to define will be a test view that will explain what is happening. So this is going to be more like the progress status, right? So we're going to define a test view. So the layout width is going to be wrap content, and the height is going to be wrap content as well. So the test size is going to be 18 sp, and the test is going to be please wait. The test is going to read please wait, and we're going to add some margin to the left, 20 dp, so that to give some space to our progress bar. And also we're going to go ahead and set the layout gravity. We're going to set the layout gravity to center vertical, and the height will be wrap content. Our linear layout is supposed to be, well, the height is supposed to be wrap content. Okay, so everything seems well in order. So we can make our progress bar in such a way that we can be changing what our status is. Let's say we are saying please wait. We can also go ahead and say fetching data. We can use it to explain our real status, right? And also after setting up this progress bar, we can reuse it in other projects. Sounds cool, right? So our ID is going to be progress status. So now that we have our layout well defined, we're going to go ahead and create a new dialog fragment. Because I really like to keep things organized, I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder. And this folder, I'm going to call it Fragment. And inside of the folder, we're going to create our new dialog fragment. So I'm going to call this Fragment. Okay, so here I'm going to go ahead and add a new fragment. So I'm going to call this fragment Progress Dialog Fragment. Okay, boom. Now first things first, we're going to go ahead and change this. Instead, I'm going to have android.support.v4.app.dialogFragment. Boom. So the next thing we need to do will be to inflate our layout. So the layout I'm talking about is the one we just designed that we intend to use as our progress. That's progress.xml. So Visual Studio have given us a hint of what we need to do. So I'm going to go ahead and say view equal to inflator.inflate resource.layout.progress. Now we're going to pass it our container, and we're going to set this to false. And finally, we're going to go ahead and return our view. Because we intend to be changing the status, I'm going to go ahead and define a new test view. I'm going to call this status test view. This will be equal to test view view.findViewById, findViewById, resource.id.progressStatus. Now we have that out of the way. The next thing we need to do will be to create a constructor, right? So the constructor will allow us to send in the status that we want to display on our progress dialog. So I'm going to go ahead and say public progress dialog fragment. And this is taking a parameter that reads status. Now we're going to define a new string. We're going to call this status. This status will be equal to status. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and say status test view dot test. This will be equal to this status. Boom. Okay, so this will go ahead and create our progress dialog fragment. So we need to go back to our main activity and create a method that will display our progress dialog when we are about to begin an asynchronous task, and also define another method that will close our progress dialog when our synchronous task has been completed. So we're going to go to main activity. So I'm going to make a new method. I'm going to call this show progress dialog. And this method will take in a parameter. This parameter will be the status of our progress dialog. So before I continue, I need to go to the top of our activity and declare a global instance of our progress dialog fragment. So I'm going to have progress dialog fragment. So because we put our dialog fragment in a different folder, we're going to have to import the namespace first of all. So we now have our progress dialog fragment. So this will be progress dialog. Okay, so we now have a global instance of progress dialog fragment. So we are going to return to our show progress dialog method and finish up with that. So at this point, progress dialog will be equal to new progress dialog, and we're going to pass our status. Whatever status we decide is what we want to display in our dialog fragment, in our progress dialog fragment. This is what we are going to pass to this method, and in turn is going to use it to create our progress dialog fragment. Now we're going to go ahead and say var trans. So this will be our transaction manager. This will be equal to support fragment manager dot begin transaction. So here I'm going to say progress dialog dot cancelable. We don't want the user or whoever to be able to cancel this, so I'm going to set this to false, and I'm going to go ahead and say progress dialog dot show. Here I'm going to pass our transaction manager and finally a tag. Boom. So this will go ahead and display our progress dialog. Now we need to make the second method that will close our progress dialog. So I'm going to go ahead and say void close progress dialog. So I'm going to say if progress dialog is not equal to null, we're going to go ahead and say progress dialog dot dismiss. And finally, I'm going to say progress dialog equal to null. So we're going to set equal to null. So to make use of this method, I'm going to go to the point where I started my asynchronous task, which is here. As you can see, this is where we used await. So before we get to this point, I'm going to go ahead and call my show progress dialog. Okay. And also we're going to go ahead and pass the status. So the status will be fetching data. Okay. So you can go ahead, and decide what you want your status to be like, right? But fetching weather is pretty okay for me. At the point where we've completed everything that we need to do, I'm going to go ahead and call close progress dialog. So to ensure that everything works just the way we expected it, we're going to go ahead and run our app. But before then, let's go ahead and build our app. Okay, so our build is successful. Now let's go ahead and deploy our app. So our app is ready to rock and roll. Now let's go ahead and search for a city. A city's weather condition actually. So let's click on check weather. Boom. So this is the nice progress dialog we just created. So you can see it in action. So this will help communicate the user that something is happening, that you should just be patient. Boom. And the progress bar just vanished. And we have our results. As you can see, we have our temperature, our broken cloud, and we see London and GB, which is the country ID. So this is what we want to achieve in this lecture. So guys, see you in the next class.